Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage President and CEO of AFFLINK, Mr. Dennis Riffer.
Let's get down to business.
Well, good morning. You know, it was so great having the opportunity to see everybody last night. It obviously has been a challenge. I saw last night over 750 flights canceled, and it looks like most of us all made it. And I want to thank you for that. I know it was a difficult time, but what a night last night. It was such a pleasure to get the opportunity to catch up on stories. And just like I just saw Dave this morning, he said, boy, it's so good to be here in person again. And you know, obviously we've gone through a lot, but Austin's a great town. It's been a fantastic opportunity to talk with most of you last night and catch up. You know, it really is an interesting city, and it's got a lot of heritage. You know, one of the things it's known for is really its entrepreneurial spirit and its focus on innovation. You know, when you look and you go back to Forbes magazine and you look at 2015, actually Austin was rated as the #1 city in the United States, even beating the Silicon Valley around startups. So it really does mean a lot to be here for us, and hopefully you've had a good time so far. I think we're gonna have a great week. You know, when you think about that entrepreneurial spirit, you know, you have a lot of companies here, and you know, headquartered obviously is Dell, but one of the companies that personally called me last night that's headquarters here, because I think their stock's probably gonna rise because it was used so much, is headquartered here as Tito's and Deep Eddies, and as I looked last night, I think we were doing quite well with helping that organization. But anyway, you know, you think about the focus on innovation and the entrepreneurial spirit. That's two of the key things we're going to talk a little bit about this week, and I think you're going to hear a lot more of that. But also, Austin shares another key core value with us, and that's all about having fun, which obviously last night it looked like we had a little bit of that. It's always good when you close things down at 8 o'clock and everybody's still around 9:30, still talking and then moving and going downstairs and getting the opportunity to just catch up. I mean, we really need that, and I think that's one of the things that makes our organization so special. You know, as I listened, and one of the things that really got me excited was not only how many of you are growing your businesses, but telling me we're so far past 2019 pre-pandemic, and that's exciting. That's probably one of the things that gives me the most joy, is listening to the successes of all of us in this room. And you know, we should celebrate. We've gone through so much. Think about this industry, and I know I look young, but in my 40 years in this business, I have never seen what's going on today as far as the acquisitions, the mergers, the changes. And yet, we continue to grow, we continue to prosper, and we should celebrate because we're here. We're here. We survived these mergers, these acquisitions, and a global pandemic. And for many of you, you recreated your businesses. You were able to overcome adversity. And as I had conversations with many of you last night, that's what makes us special, is when you can readapt and you can make shifts and changes in your business that's going to dramatically take you into the future. So I really do applaud all of you. So yes, we should celebrate. But you know, when I stood here in front of you 6 to 7 years ago, we weren't in such a good position. We really weren't. The mergers were just beginning to happen. I remember, and I had a conversation this week with Heike Milhench and some of the changes that are going on in their business, and talking about the fact that you got to understand adversity. You know, we had our largest member sell their company, was one of the first acquisitions, and overnight we lost 10% of our business. And I remember looking at my executive team going, what are we going to do now? How are we going to react? Because it isn't going to stop, and it didn't stop. We continued to lose members by selling their business, and we had to change our model. We had to continue to focus on on truly understanding what was happening in the market. I said to my team, for a couple years there, I felt like every time I turned around, I was taking a blow to the gut. And I know many of you have experienced the same thing. Think about how many of you in this audience focused on the office building market. A significant portion of your business. That business has changed forever. But you have shifted your businesses. We all have. We've all been forced to do this. And I said to our team, we're not going to sit back and take belly punches. It's time to punch back. You know what's so good is as I stand in front of you, we're not only punching back, we're winning rounds, and truly, we're knocking out our competition. We have evolved. We've changed. And all great companies need to do that to survive. We truly had to reinvent ourselves. This entire organization. You know, this is, at least it amazed me. Since the year 2000, the Fortune 500, the big companies, do you realize that out of the Fortune 500 since the year 2000, that over half of those companies are now no longer in existence? Now stop and think about that for a minute. Over half of the companies. 50 years ago, if you go back and you look at the Fortune 500 companies, their average lifespan was over 75 years. It changes. Things change. Many of you in this room, I cannot be so proud of it because I can think of Joel and Cindy with their company celebrating 100 years this year. What an accomplishment. And yet, half of the Fortune 500 is gone. So that really speaks volumes to all of you in this room. You know, if you look back at history, and this is one of the things that I've said to our executive team, we need to study what's worked right for those companies with longevity and what hasn't worked. And you know, winning Fortune 500 companies with what I call staying power have a lot of similar characteristics. You know, number one, they truly do listen. They ask the right questions so that they can understand where the key trends and the things they need to adapt to are going. They focus on innovation. You know, I was fortunate over the course of my 40 years to be with companies that truly had a heritage of innovation. We took great pride in continuing to out-innovate ourselves, not just the marketplace, but really world-class companies need to set goals about what percentage of their business comes from products and services less than 2 years old. I can promise you at AFFLINK that's exactly what we do. We will continue to change. You know what else great companies do? They never take themselves too seriously. And I've said, and we had this conversation yesterday, Heike and I, when we were talking, you never get too high, never get too low, because it's going to change. You learn from those experiences. And finally, you have to get all of your stakeholders committed to your common vision, your common goal. Because the power of one is nothing. The power of all of you is something special. And that's what we strive for. That's what we're trying to do. We want to set a path similar to these good to great companies that have longevity, that have staying power. That's our commitment at AFFLINK. But to do this, to continue to win battles, to continue to take share, we got to be faster than our competition. We got to get our members, we've got to get our suppliers, and we've got to get our parent company and the street all together to understand our common goal and mission. We have to scale up. I've said to our team, we have to continue to improve our processes so that we can adapt and do so quickly. You know, a lot of people joke within our organization about Riffer time, but it's true. We have to implement faster. I've always said, at AFFLINK, I don't hold my people accountable to getting it 100% right. But I want to get it at least 90% right, and I want to be so much further ahead of the competition that they don't even know what they're doing. That's our goal. That's what I believe winning companies really do well. You heard at Summit, at Engage in January, for those of you that were there, our theme this year, is moving at the speed of change. I would tell you that there's probably not a better time and a better theme than that. You know, some of you in this room, you probably don't know who this is, but John Wooden, the great basketball coach of UCLA. And I know the millennials are going, who? He really was one of the greatest coaches of all time. You know, he had a great quote, and he was very famous for it. He would say, be quick, but don't hurry. Be quick, but don't hurry. You know why? Because he says when you hurry, you're more likely to make mistakes. But if you move quickly and deliberately and with a true mission and a strategy, you're going to win more than your competition. So think about that. I can stand ahead of you and promise you that is our promise. We won't get it 100% right, but we want to keep you out ahead. That is a commitment that our organization makes. We have to if we're going to add value to your business. You know, you've heard me say this. For those of you that were in our audience in January, we have a very big goal. And it started last year that I gave to our executive team, I gave to our advisory board, and I gave to our parent company. We want to be 5 times bigger than we are 5 years from now. Now, I know many of you are sitting in the audience going, that's a pretty lofty goal. How in the world are you going to achieve that? Well, I hope today to start sharing with you some of those things we're going to achieve. But I don't know how many of you know, but since I've started this in this role back in 2003, seems like it was just yesterday, we as an organization have grown 6-fold. And that growth is without our parent company. Believe it or not, it's amazing. It took us, and this was probably the longest sales cycle I ever had, 17 years basically to get our parent company to understand that our membership needed the power and leverage of this $50 billion organization. So as we start coming together, the opportunities truly are unlimited. So yes, I know it's a lofty goal, but we have a $50 billion parent company that's a Fortune 500 company now truly actively supporting all of our efforts in this room. So getting 5 times bigger in 5 years, it's not going to be easy. But I can promise you this, it's not going to come from doing the same thing over and over and over again. You joke about innovation, but innovation's all what it's about. We have to change. We have to continue to act and think differently than any other organization. And hopefully, you're going to see that in Austin this week. You know, when I look at the AFFLINK ecosystem, and you truly look around this room, you are this ecosystem. You are the people that make up this ecosystem. If you think about 4 years ago, as little as 4 years ago, which we have more than doubled our business since then, many of you in this room were not here. We acted and thought differently. Today, we are stronger than ever before. Our ecosystem is obviously our traditional membership. Like I said, people made up of some of the companies of generations, not just decades, but now centuries. That's our heart. But we also have our key supplier partners that stood with us in very difficult, tough times, wondering, is AFFLINK the right horse to ride? And it's a good question. But I would tell you today, you're getting dividends many, many, many times over. Our independents, we want to be the home of that independent, to come and to leverage the strength of our $6+ billion. So yes, we have our members, we have our suppliers, but for the first time, we also have our parent company, PFG. Since we took over the entire non-foods business of Performance Food Group, they were at a 7% share of non-foods to food. Because of our efforts and our non-food specialists, and many of them are in this room, and the leverage and bringing all the power of our membership together, they finished last year at 17.5% of everything they sell is now non-foods. Actually, they took 2 market share points against Cisco and US Foods, and they attributed 100% to the non-food category. So our ecosystem has definitely changed. And then we have a management group that we work with. Many of you have heard and seen over the past 5 years the Gold Bond organization. We're so excited with their 200+ members of being able to help manage that category of their non-food business. Last year we only grew 43%. So are we winning? We feel pretty good. Are we done? Not even close. You know, as we evolve, you heard us talk about shifting some of the ways we think to leverage our size and scale to help especially our independents. I had a great time with Paul Passanisi a couple nights ago, and we're talking about the marketplace, and one of the comments was are all these suppliers really getting this enamored over the Envoys of the world and the Imperials, and what does that mean for me as an independent? And I take that to heart, because I believe we as an organization can come together, and we are bigger than each of those 2 organizations, especially when you add the $50 billion parent company that we have today working with us. But we established a program called AFFLINK Pro. We first started talking about this from our board meeting. If you remember in 2019, we discussed the power of how do we come together on the procurement side, which AFFLINK never thought about for really, truly decades. And we started shaping this. And we came into Engage in January of 2020. And how many of you in this room can remember our theme in January of 2020? Imagine disruption. Little did we know, we got to be careful with what we talk are our themes, because somehow things happen. And we had a little bit of disruption. We had this thing called COVID. And it truly shut us down. And for the last couple of years, we have been really focused on trying to continue to evolve and change, but we never put the AFFLINK Pro away. We just put it on pause. Well, now I stand in front of you and tell you we are moving as fast as we possibly can. One of the things we heard from our membership at Engage was it is very important to get with our key supplier partners and be able to put this program together and to leverage all the strengths that we have to be able to help our membership. But the one thing we heard really loud and clear is our largest category today throughout all of this organization is redistribution and wholesale distribution. We as an organization in this room do over $400 million in that category. So all we did in 2022 is put our focus at finding the right partners to be able to help us in this program. And I'm proud to announce today that we have successfully achieved that mission. And you'll hear more about AFFLINK Pro this week. But both RJ Schenner and Ascendant will be our AFFLINK Pro members for the membership. So you'll hear a lot more about that. And I'm proud of Todd and his team and what the work they did to pull this thing together. Now we're going to continue to work on our key supplier partners that are vital to us to bring them into this exciting program. We believe that is a key competitive advantage for our independents. Our ecosystem, we're not going to forget the whole other players of our strategic account partners. Strategic accounts are obviously very important to us and will continue to be important to us. But that model is also changing. And there's some real key benefits, and some of you already know this. We are beginning now to manage the entire procurement of key national accounts, where we're making the decision making, we're focused on the non-foods, and now that will continue to shift our national account footprint. You also know, as you heard me talk about Gold Bond, we are also challenging our team to be able to go out there and find other new alternative channels of distribution that have similar needs and values to what we present today. We will continue to focus on that as well. You know, as you think about it, we've said we have to be the nexus of this ecosystem. We got to make sure that the long-term success for each and every one of you is realized through maximizing all of our relationships. That's what true partnerships are. It's how we become more integral for our members and for our suppliers. It's really that simple. It's how we're going to continue to win out in the marketplace. You know, to truly get to 5X and 5Y, we got to think, we got to look, and we got to act totally different. You've heard me say, and I've said this so many times, products can be copied faster and easier than ever before. People can't. If you have the right people, you will win the game. It's all about people. They are our largest asset. And any great company with staying power knows this. To do so, we've had to improve our bench, our organization. And you're going to hear and see even more of those changes. Many of you probably saw last night. I want to kind of welcome to our team officially, but he's been here since January, but many of us haven't gotten together, is Todd Gagelis. Todd is our new Senior Vice President who has joined us, and as I said, many of you know him. He came from Hinkle Dial and ViaClean, and Todd is now our Senior Vice President that will be focused on really the following things. Number one, all of sales and Paul Rizal's teams will report up through Todd. Todd will also be in charge with his chemical background of all of our chemical suppliers, and will have the mission of really trying to help us consolidate our chemical program, which we think is very vital to the success of the organization. So we welcome Todd, person who has been at my right-hand side forever, I think. We were talking, it's been well over probably 30 years. As a Senior Vice President, Vince June, as all of you know and affectionately love, is Mook. Mook will continue to head up all of the procurement side of the business outside of the chemicals, especially focused in on the food service, but he's also accepted additional responsibility. He's going to be focused as well on helping our entire operations inside Tuscaloosa work more effectively and efficient. And then I also want to congratulate our newest Senior Vice President, Michael Wilson. Many of you know Michael, and Michael has always been a key part of our organization almost as long as Mook. He started when he was a kid, a teenager, I think, and been with us. Michael will continue to do the following. Obviously, he's going to continue to have all the marketing efforts will report up through Michael, as well as our packaging business. and his interaction with the key packaging suppliers as well as members, but he's also going to drive the compliance within the PFG organization for what we call the 4-use items that many of you in this room have been able to appreciate and be able to take advantage of. So he's going to be focused on that. And then finally, his biggest challenge is he will be helping to have the Beacon organization report up through Michael. As many of you know, Peggy Cunningham has announced she'll be retiring before the end of this calendar year. And Peggy, if you would, I'd like you to stand up and be recognized. Those are some big shoes to fill, brother. So we've got to scale up. We're not done. We're going to continue to add more and more resources. We owe that to you. But as I've said, it's not just about the internal staff. It's about how we listen. It's about what we do. We're going to change up our old steering committees and our advisory board, who has done such a good job to get us to this level. We're going to have new advisory councils. And actually, some of you in this room got to participate in 3 of the different councils this week. Both our emerging executives, our traditional member, and our pro member advisory councils. Now, if you didn't hear about this, I want you to be able, if you have an interest, we would love for your participation into these councils. But for the first time, we're also going to have a supplier council. And I've already had about 3 different individuals. That council will meet and engage. If you have an interest in wanting to participate to help our organization move forward, we would love your involvement. The other key change is we have an E2 committee, which we call emerging executives, which did meet here for the first time on this new council. But we are going to invite our key supplier partners as well. If you have young emerging executives that you believe would be added value to join this council, we would invite that. Because the real vision of these councils, and I want to make sure you understand, is so that we can ask and listen and understand what you need so we can continue to grow, so that we can continue to deliver the values you're looking for. And on this E2, I had this conversation. It's not just about the business. It's also about the relationships of having the young executives meet the members and suppliers to start bonding relationships that I think will last for years. So that's our commitment on these councils. The new advisory board will come from these councils because each council will vote on a leader. That leader will have a 2-year stint, and they will participate on our advisory board. So these are very important. We want to continue to hear and listen and ask the right questions so that all of you will benefit. You know, our ecosystem is continuing to change. Obviously, I'm ecstatic about some of the newest changes that I want to talk about. When I came in 2003, I had a lot to learn. But one of the things was AFFLINK's revenue was really made up of percentages of every one of your purchases in here. Today, because of our growth, because of our record growth, and because of the values of our parent company, when I talked about the share and what we're driving, I'm so excited to announce 2 things that we're going to be making a change on that are going to be putting money in all of our members' pockets. Number 1, we are now going to announce we have eliminated the DPA matrix. Every single member that we have will now be paid, no matter of size or growth, 100% of all DPA. And that's pretty big. That's worth millions of dollars. Number 2, for those members that work with us on AFFLINK Pro, when you achieve $1 million in purchases throughout AFFLINK Pro, you will no longer have dues for the rest of your time within AFFLINK. Those 2 things are something that I've always wanted to have so that I could stand in front of a member and say, there's no organization you can make more money with than AFFLINK. This wouldn't be possible without all of you in this audience driving this thing together to have record results. Now, is that moving at the speed of change? Now, before I announce, this is one of the nicest things that we like to do is announce our award winners, our Supplier Excellence Awards. And before I do so, I do want to share some news that is not so good. We lost a very dear friend 2-3 days ago, John Matuzak. Many of you know, John is a dear friend, was with Barry, and unfortunately I wanted to let everybody know this news. John, as you can see on some of these pictures, was a very, very avid fisherman, and we had the opportunity to go together, and this was one of his prize catches. And obviously last year, toward the end of the year, he and his lovely bride Jill came down and visited. So I wanted to let you know that news. So if we could maybe take just 10 seconds to think of John, I appreciate it. Thanks. If I could, I'd like to invite up Todd, Michael, Mook. Would you guys come up and join me on stage so that we can announce some of these award winners? Thank you. Our Supplier Excellence Award criteria is based on the following weighted averages. Number one, total support of the AFFLINK organization. Number two, market innovation. New products, new solutions to meet the needs of our membership. Customer service, which really spoke and is important today to fill rates. Outstanding leadership. And ease of doing business. Now, I'm going to ask all award winners, if you would, when you're called, to join me on stage over here to the right to receive your award. And then as well, if you would, please come back up after so that we can do pictures, okay? So, in the Facilities Maintenance Jan-San Supplier of the Year, this supplier continue to grow double digits now for 3 consecutive years. But more importantly, they had our best fill rates in the category. Please join us. Essity, come up and join. And in our largest category, wholesale distribution. This company just continues to grow at record paces. For the 3rd year in a row, R.J. Schinner, please come join us. Not bad, girl.
I know, right?
Congratulations, you getting used to this? That is our first 3-year award winner in a row. for our packaging business. You know, everybody talks about how the marketplace is down after COVID, but this company continues to lead the way in what they do and how they think. They were able to achieve with our organization a 27% growth on one of the largest base businesses that we have today. Berry Global, come join us on stage. Congratulations, you bet.
Nice memorial.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations, Carter. Congratulations. And last but not least, for our suppliers on the food service side, this company continued to grow over 25% this last year, coming off of a record growth of over a 50% growth. You know, not only do I take a lot of joy in seeing these successes, but I also take a lot of joy from everybody coming up here, the friendships. But this company, one of the things that we just got back from an executive president's meeting where we had all the PFG executives and we were listening to different conversations about how Cisco had gone to the market and telling us that we can't sustain our Italian business and we have such a dominant share. And right prior to the meeting, literally before I gave my final presentation to the organization, I got whispered in my ear that said, hey, by the way, do you realize now that AFFLINK is the second largest procurement of pizza boxes in North America, only behind Domino's? We just surpassed Pizza Hut. We surpassed Papa John's, and we surpassed Little Caesars. The award winner, please join us up on stage, Westrock.
Good job. You, man.
Hey, thank you. Team effort. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
So much. So the rest of the suppliers, I challenge you for the next year. I want to see you up here on stage. This is a very important award to us. Now let's get to the Member Excellence Award criteria. The number one criteria is total growth within our preferred supplier category. Number two, a total number of engagement with the different AFFLINK programs that exist today. Number three, strategic account sales, and number four, strategic brands. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Member Excellence Award for the facilities maintenance. I'm going to tell you a little bit about these guys. They today did over $4 million in our own brand. Clearly one of the largest numbers we have. But this organization has now surpassed and become our largest Jan-San facilities maintenance distributor. Please join me on stage, all the way from Hawaii, Triple F. Hey, right. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you so much.
All right.
Hey, congratulations. Our Member Excellence Award for the packaging category. This company continues to evolve. It continues, you talk about world-class companies of how they continue to redevelop themselves. I really enjoyed listening on our New Latitudes trip to some of the new things and ideas that they do as an organization. But in the packaging industry this year, they finished with record growth. Again, high double digits. Please join me on stage, Associated Packaging.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right. As you all know, and I've shared with our team, there's not one individual in here that isn't very blessed. We've all been very fortunate, much more so than many others. And one of the things at AFFLINK that we feel very, very committed to is giving back. And as you know, the last few years, actually 5, our real charity that we focused on is the City of Hope. As you guys know, the City of Hope has done some phenomenal things in the research of cancer, but not just cancer, but diabetes. You know, I was talking to some of their key folks, and they said to me, they really do believe they are this close to solving a cure for diabetes. Now think about that. You all in this audience helped us this year to contribute to the City of Hope over $110,000 at our last golf outing. And for that, I want to ask all of you to give yourselves a round of applause. In the 5 years we've looked at, we're now almost at almost $500 million that we've been able to contribute. If you didn't participate and engage next year, I'm going to ask you right now to try to make certain that you get involved with this great, great, great charity. Okay, a couple more things to just talk about before we get out and get the opportunity to experience what's going on. Our core values, we really talk about, obviously, family is critical. Business is critical. And having fun is critical. And when you talk about those 3 things, it brings to mind New Latitudes. Many of you, we were just talking about the great trip we just finished up with, where we were in Italy, Spain, the Greek Isles, and it was absolutely outstanding. But we just checked the actual performance of our suppliers that were in New Latitudes. The suppliers that we put into New Latitudes versus the suppliers who not are part of the program, over 17 years now, have grown 3 times greater growth than those suppliers that aren't a part of our program. This program has expanded throughout all of PFG now for the first time. We had over 26 people from the top level, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, actually Fortune 100 company, George Holm and his lovely wife Paula were in attendance. We had the regional president. We had the Vistar leadership. We have a total commitment to help drive this program forward for our membership. We will continue to go forward. Now let's take a look at where New Latitudes 18 is going to take us.
For 18 years, AFFLINK's New Latitudes has visited over a dozen world-class destinations around the globe, and the spring of 2023 will carry on that tradition as New Latitudes 18 takes you to Portugal. We'll be staying at the Peñalonga Ritz-Carlton, a 14th century estate and monastery with world-class accommodations, restaurants, and golfing. And just minutes from the historic city of Sintra, a World Heritage Site famous for its palaces and castles. AFFLINK looks forward to seeing you at New Latitudes 18 in Portugal.
All right. Now the great news is this week begins the opportunity to begin accruing points. So when you go to Marketplace, look for those suppliers with the New Latitudes emblem and begin partnering with them to figure out how you can make certain that you're a part of this trip. Now listen, Austin's been fantastic, and we're just now getting the opportunity to experience it. And I'm hoping that as you get the opportunity to be a part of our breakout sessions, that you get an opportunity to really experience a lot of the things that we're trying to do to evolve. We're going to have a phenomenal summit. But one of the things everybody likes to always know is, where are we going next year? Well, let's take a look.
In 2023, AFFLINK takes you to Palm Desert.
I'm in a sweet spot. I'm feeling good. The sun is shining. I knew it would. The world's a playground. I'm in the clouds. Let me show you what it's all about. Check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Just check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Let me show you what it's all about. Check it out.
You'll be staying at the JW Marriott Desert Springs, a luxury resort in Palm Desert with first-class dining and spa, 2 championship golf courses, and world-class tennis courts, and just a short drive from downtown Palm Springs.
Check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Just check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Let me show you what it's all about. Check it out.
AFFLINK looks forward to seeing you in 2023.
All right. So before we worry about the deserts, let's have a great couple of days here in Austin. And again, I want to truly thank each and every one of you for your participation, because you have choices to make. And you've chosen to spend time here making our organization, and truly when I say this, our organization, the best it can be. Thank you very much, and I look forward to spending time with all of you.
Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like